Hi, welcome to Dying of Exposure. My name is Steve, and I'm here with our wonderful Through the Mill Posse member, Trapir Bramblepelt, aka Josh Kloffenstein, aka Cloffen Pop, aka the man with the smooth voice. Hi, Josh. How you doing?
A little weirded out, I'll be honest. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's weird. So, for those that struggled through the sound quality of our last episode, unfortunately, Trapir couldn't make it and had to separate from the group. So I'm gonna catch Josh up a little bit on what I NPC played him for. And
Yeah,
then,
I coughed a tree into the store.
Yeah, it was actually a really good event timing, right? Like, it was a great event timing. So we're going to go into that. I'm going to do a little recap, and then we're going to have a little one-on-one session because Trapir was gone the entire session, but he still existed in the world. He was doing things, and I don't believe in playing my players' characters very heavily unless I absolutely have to. So we're just going to start off here with Josh and a recap. So last Trapir was with the group. They were in a tavern, slowly gathering around. Eventually, patients came in, and they were discussing what they wanted to do. They were discovering that Fredrickson Goodhammer, the local robber baron and land buyer from out of town, who'd only been in town for about 5 years or so, which is pretty low.
Fuck that guy though.
Low, yeah. He's been playing some games, not just with sending double agents to try and manipulate land buy grabs, but also with sending physical threats to members of the party separately, including patients. So it was discussed among the group that the most effective course of action would be to go go talk to the Caspi farm holders and discuss with them what their experience with him was, and if maybe they knew why he was looking to buy land now to build his casino in specific areas when there's plenty of land around Water's Wealth still open for a project like that. At the point of them exiting the tavern after a good solid meal and a nice conversation that allowed them to earn a long rest for mechanics purposes, Trapir spotted a couple people that were eyeballing him, and based off of recent events of blowing up a curio shop with a tree, decided to skedaddle a little bit with the classic and most accurate representation I could do of Josh's roleplay style for a Trapir.
Oh no.
All right, guys, I'm gonna head out and then just walk off. So we're going to start from the walking off scene. You have bounced from the group. None of them rolled enough perception to really follow you or notice what you were doing. They acknowledged that you said goodbye and just bounced in another direction and said you'd meet up with them later. So you are now walking through the town of Water's Wealth. You have noticed two marshals that have kind of been glancing at you and everything, and based off recent events, maybe they're glancing at you for a good reason other than the fact that you're a 8-foot plus coyote man. So you're in Water's Wealth. Where do you would be heading off west from Water's Wealth?
I'd be heading toward the trees.
Heading toward a little grove of trees you happen to spy earlier. So you head up west and then you head up north. What you noticed around one spring in Water's Wealth, one of the like shallow clean water springs that seems to have a fair flow seepage up from it, is that there is like a little grove of, you couldn't call it a forest, you could call it like a light wood. And it wasn't actually outside of the town, but you noticed there was enough distance there that you'd be out of spot from everything. And it's the nicest section without trees. It's kind of toward the north of town. North end of town. There's some windmills north of it, and it's actually not that far off from the university itself. But for now, you kind of zigzag your way as you escape the marshals who wrote terrible perception checks in the last session. So you escaped their view, they shrugged and walked off. But you've had an experience. You have a tree that you swallowed an acorn, spat it up immediately, and it burst into something you've never seen happen before. You still have 2 of those blue glowing acorns left, and so you get to the wood grove with very little faff or fare. Do you? Can I have you roll a perception check?
Yeah. 10.
10 natural or 10 with your
plus 4, 14.
14. All right, 14. So you know that this wood is not unoccupied. There are woodland creatures and everything. You can see that there are trails that people walk, but there are big spans of it that kind of are just bulked by trees that are kind of off the beaten path. You can stay on the beaten path or you can walk off of it. Which one do you want to do?
What do I see from the beaten path?
From the beaten path, you see kind of a nice, like, kind of dirt path that gets traveled a lot by folk and horses, not really wagons around here. Back behind you where you came from and kind of off to the southwest is the university. Off to the north and direct south and toward the southeast is just trees. And then going forward, you can see a couple benches that some people would put up there. They don't look like they're maintained by the city or anything. Some of them got moss on them. Some of the wood's a little bit rotted, but nothing too trashy. Or anything.
I'm walking the path. I'm looking for anything interesting off the path. So
off the path. All right. So as you walk the path, you see you are going to roll another perception check, but I'm going to have you roll it with advantage this time because this is going to be a smell.
Oh. All right. Ooh, a 3 and a nat 20.
Okay.
Plus 4, 24.
So the nat 20 definitely gets it. You can tell roughly about within 500 or so feet of you, you can smell a couple coyotes. You don't hear them moving too quickly or anything. If you really focus, you can hear them kind of lowering and shifting their weight, but you definitely smell
like
them.
Coyotes?
Like
or
actual
like
coyotes.
Okay.
There are 2 of them. They smell healthy as far as you can tell at this distance and everything, and they're just a little bit north off the beaten path. You're not getting the aggression scent from them or anything like that.
Okay. I'm gonna head north.
So as you head north, you can begin to hear them approaching. They're not approaching with any stealth or speed, honestly. You can just hear them sort of walk, trotting in your direction. They've obviously caught to your scent as well. And they begin to move up to you. You eventually, still a couple hundred feet off, can easily kind of spot their movement now because they're not trying to hide themselves. They smell you, but they don't seem to be territorial. This isn't like their regular hunting grounds or their home area. It's also a little strange to see coyotes so near water's wealth, like a city population in the middle of the day where they're not like, there's no night cover, but they seem fairly confident. Neither of them are lowered, no ears are back, no tails are down, no hackles are raised. Do you approach them or do you just stay at a distance and stand still?
Yeah, I take out an apple and I start cutting some slices off, eating one myself, and offer a slice out.
Offer a slice out. One coyote does not understand what's happening at all, but the other one quickly identifies, because I rolled a really high insight check for a beast that has a -4 to wisdom. Immediately understands what's about to happen here and moves, and then the other coyote kind of slowly moves along. They come up to you, they sniff at you a little bit, but they've got your scent pretty well, and you're not giving off any kind of aggression vibes. And they immediately sit down and open up their mouth, tongues loll out. They're ready for some apples. I assume you feed them to them.
Yeah. We cut up slices of apples.
I would
let them sniff my hands.
I would like, so they're extremely friendly. They probably wouldn't be this friendly with something like a non-furred mammal that wasn't like part of them. part of their species.
I'm very good with animals.
You are also a druid. You have everything going for you beside being another coyote, and in a way that might actually be a better situation for you in this case.
Presumably.
Yeah, because you're not on their level. Trapper, I am going to have you roll. Even though you are good with animal handling, I'm going to have you roll animal handling, but this is not for advantage. It normally would be, but this isn't just related to that.
16.
So that's 16 plus 4?
Yeah.
So
12 plus 4.
12 plus 4. So you get a straight 16. All right, so the 16...
nature. I have proficiency in nature, but not animal handling.
If you have proficiency in nature, I'm going to have you roll a nature check as well.
Okay. 16 plus 4, 20. Do I do anything for proficiency other than the plus 4?
No, the plus 4 does it, but
Okay, cool.
A dirty 20 will get it
Dirty
in this
20.
case. So your dirty 20 leads you to notice that you're not seeing a lot of animal tracks around here, so you immediately understand that these coyote are definitely visiting. More importantly, you are seeing some human tracks or humanoid tracks around here from
I definitely investigate those tracks.
Behind a tree. They sort of walk back in the direction that the coyotes were going, and the coyotes just follow you, but you don't go too long, maybe 20, 30 feet. And then from behind a tree, within about 30 feet of you, is a gentleman dressed up in a bunch of like animal furs and like natural kind of weave together palm fabrics that have been worked over stone and water to soften them a bit.
Hell yeah.
He looks human.
This is my people.
Yeah, he looks human, but he's got a big old beard. Bit of a pot belly. You probably outsize him by a good solid almost 3 feet. He's short for a human. For a human male. But he looks up at you and he's like, well, I wondered where Darla and Mavis got off to. Of course, they never minded too much of a sweet treat. Well, howdy there, stranger.
Howdy, I don't know what any of that means, but I'm pleased to meet you too. How are you? I hope I'm not interrupting anything.
Oh no, I'm just sitting here thinking about nature and my connections to it, trying to figure out some sort of concoction I can make to deal with this poison ivy I wasn't paying attention to earlier. And he lifts up a leg, and you can see he's kind of wearing tattered pants, and it's got a salve on it, but it's still red and everything.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
dude, I got some shit for that if you want.
Oh, you do.
Hell yeah.
Well.
Yeah, get that.
Awesome. So he gets closer to you, but he stays at an appropriate distance to not crane his neck too high.
These are trying times.
Yeah,
social distancing.
Social distancing, right? And so he's at least 6 feet away.
I get real fucking close to him. We touch mouths.
Touch mouths.
Oh, this is weird. I can have physical contact in D&D.
Yeah,
hold on, I'm getting distracted.
You just hold each other's hands together this.
We just press chests together.
Just press it. He nuzzles into your belly a little bit. It's adorable. Now,
nice.
As he approaches, you smell that this man does smell like a lot of nature and a little bit of booze. And by a little bit, I mean a lot of bit.
Hell yeah.
He looks up and he's like, well, my name's Robert. Who might you be there, you tall fella?
Pleased to meet you, Robert. My name is Trapper.
And he reaches out a hand, friendly, takes a step forward to reach out a hand so that he can shake your hand. Oh, companionable. Then he reaches down to kind of ruffle the fur under.
I don't curtsy or anything. This dude knows what's up.
Yeah, he's down. And he looks at you
I'm
and
like,
he's like,
what it is, Robert?
What it do, son? What it do? He looks at you and he's like, And he goes, well, yeah, I come to these woods. There's not a lot of woods around most of Odai, this side of the river.
Shit, man, you're telling me.
And you know, there's some interesting succulents and other nature, but when you need the shade of trees, when you need grass under your feet, this and a couple other areas are the only place you can go. I haven't seen you around Water's Wealth much. I
just came in through town. Yeah, I'd love to get some info on those other places though.
Oh yeah, we'll
maybe later.
I'll show you up a map. And so he goes,
hell yeah.
He waves you over, and he's like, come around this way. I got a couple stumps that I've kind of set up as like a outdoor patio situation.
Oh, this is sweet, Robert.
I want you to roll perception, just regular perception on him.
Ooh, 18, 22.
22. You're not getting anything hinky off this guy. He very much, all of his body language is saying, I recognize that you're some sort of creature human, and you look like you got a lot of pouches on you and stuff like that. So you might not be of the same thing, but you're in the same space, like another STEM, like how STEM recognizes
we
STEM.
are definitely in the same space.
And so he walks you over. You see he's got a little
this
fire.
This is a very nice space, Robert. Actually, I like the little patio feeling you got. I like the bears in the hot tub carved out of the tree trunk.
Oh, of course. You gotta fill your life with wonderful, whimsical things. The world can be a bit tough. Have you? And you can see he doesn't even have a fire going in like a normal fire pit. It's in a barbecue grill. Like he has a straight up briquette barbecue grill that he's crafted.
I lean in. I'm like, Robert, y'all want a sarsaparilla?
You know I want a sarsaparilla, son. Give it over here.
There you go, buddy.
Yeah, and he grabs it and he takes a good swig and he's like, He smiles. His teeth are clean, which is kind of rare for most kind of outdoor hermity people that you've seen that are humans that don't brush their teeth very often. But his teeth are pretty damn immaculate. And everything. Right. And so he's dirty, like he's dusty and he's not well showered, but he's not filthy. He's not wretched in any way. And so he looks over at you and he rubs his bald head, adjusts his furs a little bit, and then sits down and everything. He reaches down, grabs a bit of defeathered, already gutted pheasant, and he's like, hold on. I just assumed because you were like a coyote man that you eat meat. Do you eat meat, or are you a non-meat eater?
I mean, I go either way, man. I'm not gonna waste not.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly. And it's I couldn't nurse this bird back to health, but it will nurse my stomach for me. And so he
Pennsylvania, man.
He puts the bird on the grill and he covers it, and so he's like, so you wandered into town. Whereabouts you from? I will admit, I have never seen anyone like you.
Yeah, well, I mean, that may be a credit depending on which kind you would have encountered. But yeah, I'm from the Upper Carolina realms of Black Forest.
Black Forest, Upper Carolina.
I picked something on Steve's map, but I forgot what it was.
Upper Carolina, Odai. I know that area. That's like a local parlance for the area, but I've never been there. I've seen it. Oh yeah, the map. And he pulls out the town map of that pretty much circulates as the major town map on canvas and leather.
Yeah, I got one from the Stephen Guild of Cartographers.
Yep,
that's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, and he pulls it up and he kind of points out to you where there's some spots. And he's like, if you actually go about a day's walk just straight north of here, it's not on the map, but you could just pin it from this windmill right here and just do not deviate. Just go straight north from that. In a day's walk, you'll find an oasis, no settlers, no tents, just nature, just animals. It's about a day out of town. Nobody likes doing it because it's not on the way to anything. But for those of us that need a getaway, I keep it as my little secret to those of us that are a bit more connected to the earth than...
Damn, Robert, I appreciate that, man.
Than that. And he sits down and he's like, so you're in Water's Wealth? What specifically though has you here? You're traveling around. We all like to wander, but why here?
Yeah, well, I stuck around town because we got picked up on this gig with the carnies over there, doing some recovery of some stolen artifacts of their, to be determined origin. But
origin artifacts of to be determined origin. Well,
yeah, they got this like dope dress and like a real beardy ring. But yeah, did you see the Cankus?
Oh yeah, the Cankus out east of town in that fort there.
Yeah, fuck are they up to? This is on some Hot Topic shit or something.
I don't know. I can't get these two girls.
Looks like spy versus spy.
I can't get these two girls to get within like 500, 1,000 feet of them. So I just leave it clear. There's no trees out there. They cleared every bit of nature underneath them, and there's only a few cacti and such out there. So it's not my business.
How far underneath?
Well, I don't know. I've been in the camp, but when I saw him moving in, I saw him just like pulling out everything green and just keeping it nice and desert dirt and nothing else.
Gross. What the fuck?
So gross. I got no problem with Cankus in general, but that group of Cankus, I don't get good vibes from them.
Yeah, no, I think they're into more pentagrams than like fucking nose barbells and shit.
Yep. My concerns are with you, but I do admit you caught my interest. You piqued it, sir. You said that you had collected up some artifacts.
I'm peeking something, man. Some of them shits were these weird blue acorns. I figured it was gonna be some enchanted snack or some shit, magic berry. Looked like that same kind of bluish, like azure hue.
It absolutely looks like
them in my mouth, bitter as all get out. Spat it out as I was spitting it out.
You popped one in your mouth? Oh, dude, I didn't God! Oh God! He looks at it. Are you holding it up to him, or holding it in your hand?
No, I haven't let him mention that I have more of them.
Let me guess. They glow a little bit, right? They glow blue a little bit.
Yeah, it did.
I have an idea. So let me guess. You popped it in your mouth. You threw.
Well, I was in the bottle shop.
Okay.
And I gotta clear something up. Did you say bottle shop or
bobble?
Like bobble shop.
Bobble.
What's a bobble shop? Like a Hallmark? Like keepsakes and stuff?
Like in this Christmas world, or are you asking him, or are you asking me as the DM?
No, you as the DM. I thought you said bobble shop. So I was thinking like
bobble shop is the Water's Wealth, the Odai term for a curio shop. It has a number of like little artifacts and things, little like magic stuff, various like substances for alchemical and natural potions. That's
what I was.
Yeah, yeah, and so that's what you walked into, and
I still never got components either.
You did grab three things before you left. You didn't have a chance to look at them. The party was very mad at you for that. They're like, that's not a very lawful, good, neutral, good decision. But I loved it as the DM. Good. As the DM, I was 100% fine with it. But nonetheless, so he hears about it.
I tell him the story of what happened. I mentioned, this dude, people, I've had about half a dozen times since I got to town 3 days ago. I've had people just like size me up and just do some like real weird racist shit or just like tell me to skedaddle. And this dude was getting hella aggro, was about to attack me. So I popped one of these things, figured it was going to be some sort of defense buff or something. But, super bitter. I spat it out and it started exploding into a gigantic oak as I spat it out. Barely snuck my way out of there before it got swarmed.
He laughs as you're telling him this story. He goes up. He doesn't really interrupt you. But he stands up to flip the bird on the grill and then puts the cover back on it, sits back down on his stump, and he's like, "What you have there is misbegotten, mishandled idea from an ancient druid named Skeeter. Now, Skeeter thought that what he was gonna do was learn as much magic, be it occult, be it divine, be it of any kind of deity or demon, and he was going to use that to I can't remember the term, Terra something. He had a fancy word for it. He was gonna make it very green out here around Water's Wealth. This was about 40, 50 years back. And so...
Oh, yeah, terragraphing.
I
was reading about that.
Yeah, terragraphing. So he was going to terragraph Water's Wealth with all manner of tree and grass and bush and everything. And not just Water's Wealth, the whole west of Odai. That was his plan. So Skeeter started...
Damn.
He was a very powerful druid, but like his magic wasn't all natural and it wasn't all from good places. So he started moving and trying and testing out all this shit. He never did get it right. So what had happened is that he thought that if he had he got real dark when he was getting older and starting to die. And so he was getting desperate. He started getting into some like dryad sacrifice, blood magic shit. But what you got was one of his earlier experiments.
Jesus.
So occasionally around these parts and all over Litet, but definitely west of the Grand Range Mountains, you're gonna occasionally run into some glowing like seeds or nuts or acorns, occasionally potatoes, sometimes whole plants. And they have these growth or accelerated properties that change them up a lot. This guy did not know what he was doing. So I bet you got one of his quick growth trees. And so you pop them into your mouth. They make you sick. You throw them up. And then bam, they're just a full tree over in seconds.
Apparently. Yeah, you could say it again. This dude doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm not sure he understands conservation or ecology. How many fucking elder oak souls do you have to slaughter to shove into your surprise big one tree?
Lots of dark things come with that. What you got was fairly innocuous. What it does is it sort of just accelerates growth. So if you know that it's going to happen, you could just suddenly have a tree. But of course, that tree needs a water source. It needs, a regular environment in which that tree can survive in its various changes through the season.
Maybe there's a reason big trees only grow where big trees are able to sustain life.
Exactly.
I don't know what this Dexter dude thought he was helping.
His name was Skeeter.
God damn.
Nonetheless,
whatever happened to him?
Last I heard, he went over to Vast because he'd figured out something from over back east, over in Sodervegan, how they desalinate and process their food or process their salt water better. And he figured out how to combine that with plant life so that plant life that would normally require fresh water to survive could in fact survive on salt water. So he went over to the coast, but that was about 10 years ago. Ain't nobody heard of him since. And it's not like Vastkust and Odai we're not fighting, but we ain't friends. So not a lot of word gets back. We all thought he was nuts, but occasionally he'd stumble
he's
on
just
something.
Putting salt in all the soil. Well, he came up with new plants that can grow in salty soil, so he's killing all the other plants.
I don't know what he's going to do, but
sounds like a weird fucking druid.
They're not going. I wouldn't even call him a druid anymore. I'd call him some sort of abomination. He was, as far as I know, an elf, a very old elf. But he don't look like that no more. He looks like an amalgamation of all kinds of monstrosities. And I'm not talking about a specific category of race. I'm talking about he is a monstrosity of each race amalgamized into a like one super monstrosity. So he's like a human with a bunch of boils, and then an elf with like sharp razor teeth, and then like a tiefling, but his horns are growing out his arms and back and head, and he's got a lot going on. Honestly, it's very busy.
Like a mid 90s Christian anti-evolution poster.
Yeah, pretty much.
HR guys.
I remember that in the 490s when they were telling us as druids that evolution didn't exist and that it was all because of some graceful,
Right.
holy light deity of the sun. And we're like, what the hell are you talking about? There are universities that know this isn't the case, but, you know, most people ain't into book
bro,
learning.
I watched this fruit fly evolve. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what you got there. If you
Where'd that dude end up though?
over in Vast Cuss, that's the country west of
doing the
Odai.
salty. Okay.
And so they got a lot of coastal line. Not a lot growing off of it because, you know, seaweed and stuff, algae, but not a lot of forests or woods. I haven't been there since I fought there several years back, several decades back. He goes back to the grill, checks on the hen that he has done, and he pulls it at the appropriate time.
Oh, did you just roll for the cook?
I did roll for the cook, and I rolled a nat 20. So apparently he had rubbed it down with seasoning beforehand. It smells incredible. It's like a master chef, even though
Robert,
it was just in a briquette grill.
Amazing, dude.
So he
you know a lot about this place around here. Do you know what used to be wherever the Kanku are digging over?
I don't know nothing about that area. That area, Water's Wealth never really developed over in that direction. It was a little too far from the springs, and we're not filled up around the springs yet. And
you don't think that fucking Monopoly dude is involved in any of that, do you?
I don't know. I do know that it was the magister of the town that invited the Kanku there. He said it was for some security reason, but he's been real political shady on that, you know, like politicians get, where you ask him a direct question, he answers 3 other broad questions that are not the question that you asked.
Yeah, well, that smells about as legitimate as day old tuna fish.
The old magister was a homegrown, good, you know, like good woman, had raised kids here. She led the town in smart things. I'm not saying the town's in any kind of trouble, but this new guy is not impressive. He doesn't know how to use words well. He's worse at it than I am. So he is not my cup of tea. But of course, I've never been much for dense civilization and bureaucratic matters. I'm much more of a roll into town on a Saturday night, get a few drinks, stumble back to my cabin.
I feel you, Robert. My cup of tea is a cup of tea, right?
Yep.
Hell yeah. Clink.
He drinks that sarsaparilla. It's like, my cup of tea is turning into this sarsaparilla, though. This is mighty fine.
This chicken is fucking divine.
Yeah, and so he sits with you for a bit.
I need you to, sorry.
Well, you're hen, whatever. I don't know birds. I don't know birds. When I am going, which I'm glad no one played a bird. I think you were thinking about maybe playing a bird person at one point.
I was thinking about Kenku.
Yeah, and I would have had to do some research just to get the terminology right, and it would have made me mad. Roll. Well, you guys are kind of jawing back and forth visiting. Roll perception again.
17, 21.
Ooh, 21. So he doesn't hear it. He's telling you a story about
kind
this.
Of hot tonight.
You are rolling real strong tonight. He doesn't hear it. He's telling you a story about how he got his 2 coyotes. That he'd found them as like kind of damaged like in pup form and everything.
Oh,
and
they were his coyotes. I didn't.
Yeah, they're just sitting there. They're sitting there. He's tossed them a little bit of the hen, cooked hen. They're loving it. And they've got water dishes. They're very domesticated at this point. Coyotes. But he's talking to that story. You hear rustling from whence you came, back down south and a little bit toward the west. In the leaves.
My ears perk up. Turn back.
Yeah,
I said my ears perk up.
Oh, your ears turn back and puck up. And with the 21, you hear that it's the shuffling of bipedals. You hear that it's people shuffling.
Ooh. All right. I said, hey, Robert, I hear a couple of 2-legged walkers coming up from the south. You know anything about that?
And he goes, and at you saying that, the 2 coyotes pop up and they kind of creep a little bit forward in that direction. and then they kind of lower themselves down, not into full pounce mode, but they get themselves down behind like a little bit of the small shrubbery. They're not really occluded from sight, but you know, they're lowing down, and he looks at them, and then he looks at you, and he's like, well, all right, well, you know, if they ain't enemies until they declare themselves that's always been my policy. So
Cool.
let's find out. And so that shuffling does slowly move, but you won't be surprised by it. The two marshals that had been following you had circled around, and now they were walking up. They're walking up. They don't have their hands on blades or anything like that. They're just walking up and everything. They've got their Stetson tan hats and their double-breasted like leather sleeveless vests and their nice shirts and their little tin stars out to identify what they are. They're very classic westernly dressed and everything. And they walk up, except the difference is they have a buckler on one of their arms and a sword at their hip rather than, you know, a gun.
What's a buckler?
It's a small shield. A buckler is like a shield that you would have that would be about this wide. So it's not really it's not really like a Viking shield or even like a Northern European shield. It's a much more like fast, deliberate blocking shield that doesn't have a lot of weight to it.
I take back my earlier world building dig.
World building.
Can I interest either of you gentlemen in a sarsaparilla?
And they're all like, well, that depends. That might be mighty fine. You can see by their size, they're both kind of average build looking humans. Both of them are clean shaven. They both look like they're, you know, like older than a teenager, younger than their 40s kind of thing. That kind of like full grown adult men. But one steps forward. He's the one with the sandy blonde hair, and he's like, so we had a report from a half elf that he found a tall gentleman with fur covering his body, some sort of dog man, and he was very upset. He was very upset about it because apparently that man just threw down a tree in his shop. We went to look at the shop because we didn't believe him, and indeed the shop is no longer, and the tree is there, and it is fully destroyed. And then we saw you a few hours later walking out from a tavern right across from that shop, and you just kind of headed off in a direction, and you know, so I had Anthony over here check after you.
Did you see me throw any trees on the ground in the tavern?
And he's like, well, no, we didn't see any trees thrown. But,
okay, just checking.
But Lisley Clanthian, I know, it's a dumb name. Lisley Clanthian, the proprietor of that shop, has been in Water's Wealth for, well, longer than both of us have been alive. And I don't think that he would be too much. He's a jerk, but he ain't much for fibbing. The other guy hasn't spoke yet, but he has kind of moved to a side. He's about like 15 feet away from the other guy, kind of not so much angling you in because there's only two of them and you've got open space in every direction, but sort of spreading themselves out and everything. Robert interrupts and he's like, well, men, would you like some of this delicious chicken that I've brought, that I just cooked up? This hen, pheasant, I don't know. I've never looked. As a druid, I should know more about birds and be more consistent with how I talk about them. And then, and they're like, and the guy that hasn't talked goes, well, I will mind some chicken, and just walks up, and the other guy just stops him with like a silent hand gesture. He just closes his fist, and the guy stops like 3 steps into going for food. And he's like, now, I don't like to, what's the word? When you look at someone and judge them purely, you look at them and you get a good look at their physical visage, and you know who they are, and you can predict that they probably did something wrong, But
yeah, I think they call that one physiognomy.
Physiognomy. Yeah, I'm not a physiognomist by habit, but I have not seen a lot of very tall, I wouldn't say you're a dog, coyote, maybe, wolf, something like that. I haven't seen a lot of gentlemen of your description out, and you're not that far off of what he told me he was looking for, though I admit I was looking for an 8-foot golden retriever, because that will be adorable. But,
yeah, well, did he also tell you that he attacked me?
Did he? Did he lay hands on you?
Yeah, he pulled his weapon, and he loosed a projectile toward me.
Well, he didn't say nothing about that.
I bet he didn't.
My question for
you
you...
were real racist about it, too.
Racist?
To be frank.
Racist? Now...
I'll be honest, officers. Y'all town has been very much unwelcoming to me since I got in.
So he's like, well, that don't sound like the water's wealth I know. And oftentimes my mama told me when an entire town, a group of people feel like they're mistreating you because of how you behave normal, maybe it's your behavior that's causing it. And so what I want you to do is roll an insight check right now.
15, 19. Jesus.
So you can see that his arm tenses to go for, I'm going to roll for Robert as well. You can see that his arm tenses, but Robert steps forward and he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now we've just been jawing here all afternoon. And he told me about what happened in that shop. And in that shop, that man, Litet Clanthian, attacked him, told him to get out, treated him like a simple animal, and then, upon having that experience, he did not strike Litet Clanthian back. He simply got himself out of there and defended himself with one of the most natural defenses in the world, a tree. Now, is it his fault that it was a particularly healthy tree that grew up so very fast? I don't think so. And everything. But what you have to understand is, and then the other dumber guy just goes, and they don't go for you. The dumber guy goes for Robert and just moves in to physically, he doesn't have his sword in his hand. He moves in with his physical hands to embrace him. You had a 19, so you could track that he wasn't like pulling his sword, but he's gonna go in and try to like wrap this guy up a little bit and put him in an arm hold. What does Trapir do?
The magister is going for Robert?
The marshal is going for Robert, yeah. The dumb one that hasn't been talking to you.
Yeah. I would...
Sorry, the less intelligent one that hasn't been talking to you. Gotta getting the words dumb and stupid out of my language is super difficult, but it's worth it. Yeah. So the less intelligent of the two, the less vocal and honestly behind the screen, an intelligence score of 9 versus an intelligence score of like above 10.
Yeah. God, I mean, this is essentially an encounter already, right?
Doesn't have to be. You don't have to react at this moment. There's no initiative yet rolled.
I might. Yeah, I don't know that I would react at this point.
Yeah, and so he goes to Robert. He grabs his hand, and he pulls him out. I'm going to roll a dex check for Robert. Robert rolls a natural 5. That's not going to be a fast enough dex check to get out of it. So he gets his arm pulled around him, and he's holding him real tight in that like submission hold where he's kind of putting a little pressure on his shoulder. And the other gentleman here says, now, I just came to collect one gentleman, but I'm more than willing to bring 2 down to the station if I need to. But I don't need to take 2. I could just take 1. Now, you just met Robert. He's been nothing but kind to you. And you get the idea that this person is like, maybe if you throw me something, we'll just walk out of here with this druid and everything will be fine. You know, some folk can just change shape all the time. And so who's to say he didn't make himself look like you, set you up, and everything? And who's to say we didn't use our investigatory prowess to catch him and not apprehend the wrong gentleman? And he really obviously winks at you.
Yeah. I say, well, it doesn't sound like y'all gentlemen care much about the truth one way or the other, nor justice. So I don't see any good in much further conversation.
And so he goes, well, and so what we're gonna do here, since there's only 4 of us, is we're not going to roll initiative. What is, I can look. I don't need to ask you. Your dexterity is 14. Robert's is much higher than that. His dexterity is this, and his other dexterity is that. Okay, so in that moment, you see Robert just mutter something, or you hear Robert just mutter something, and the gentleman that has his arms is suddenly entangled. Oh yeah, he's definitely entangled. He's suddenly entangled by a bunch of tree roots that weren't there before. They trip him at first, and then they quickly grow over him and everything. And then that causes his ally to draw his blade and everything. And he's actually not moving in on you. He's keeping in closing distance, which is roughly within 20 to 30 feet, but he's not attacking first. So you have your ability to attack first. So Robert and you are first in this. And so Robert looks at you and he's like, well, I wouldn't mind a tussle, and these guys kind of seem like assholes.
Yeah, they're kind of asking for it, aren't they?
Yeah, you wanna knock them around a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Okay, so it is your go. It's your turn. You can do what you need.
Yeah, with sort of one motion, I unlatch the little clasp on the middle of my walking staff and spin it around and sort of unsheath it as it's spinning and twisting behind my back and whatever. It's really cool shit, trust me. Shings, pull out the scimitar blade that is kind of embedded inside of a gnarl in the walking stick.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a pole arm. And is he within range?
Oh yeah,
close,
he's within range.
Yeah, so I take a nice big long slash at almost full extension at him.
All right, roll to hit.
14 plus. Do I add anything to that?
You do. You add +3. Your walking stick scimitar has a +3 to hit.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And so
17.
And when you hit, you roll 1d8, which you do. You do hit him. 1d8 +1. So roll d8.
Which one's the 8?
Double pyramids on top of each other.
Cool. There we go. 1 plus 2.
Yeah, so a total of 2. So you nick him. You nick him in his clean, slight-shaved face. You can see a little blood trickle, and he goes, "Ooh, that gets my goat up." All right, so now his buddy, who is entangled now, he doesn't get to go this round, but he does get to try and save to get himself unentangled.
Wait, it's only his buddy who's entangled?
Yeah, he's fine. Robert only dealt with the guy that was right on him.
Oh, weird. I think my entangle's like a 20-foot square.
Yeah, it's the same entangle. He just put it back, further back.
Got it.
Because he wasn't going to initiate combat unless Trapir was like ready for it. He was just going to hold people down, but he wasn't going to hit both of them. And he had enough of an insight to see that the guy was pretty tense to go for his blade. And the gentleman does not save, so that guy does nothing this round and stays there and struggles, and he's like, "I don't like this. I don't like it at all." And then the other gentleman goes, and since you opened up combat, he closes in and he swings his sword at you. Got your armor class in front of me. And he hits.
LV 13.
I think you and Patience, I think, have the low armor classes in this group, which makes sense. You're the ones who have magic.
I'm wearing fucking moss and shit.
Yeah, come on. I've got all these natural things.
I got a robe on.
So he does hit you, and he hits you for a classic. It's just a short sword. So he hits you. Oh, by the way, I know on your sheet it said 6 and 10, but you're at 10.
Yeah, I just popped that back up.
Yeah.
As I'm like, oh, let me pop it right back down to 6, probably, huh?
It is actually popped down to 4. So he really gets you. He gets you right in the side. Does 6 damage and swings in on it. But that is his turn. It is Robert's go again. Robert is going to do something that you very much recognize. So he is going to walk up to the gentleman, light his hand aflame, and then put it on him. Try to put it on this guy that's fighting you. So Robert,
just fire punch.
Yeah, it's for people to pay attention. He's producing flame with his hand, and
flame.
And so he goes to put him on him, and he does put it on him. Yeah, he puts it right on him. It's very sexual. He actually just gently grazes the gentleman's face where you cut him, and he's like, "Let me cauterize that wound for you," and everything, and it sears him. Let me get my D8. And it sears him for another very solid 2 damage. So, not rolling great on the damage. Hitting, but not rolling great.
Yeah.
And so he gets seared. So it does cauterize the wound, but it burns his face a little bit. And he's like, my beautiful gaze, you're hurting it, and everything. But it is your go. It's Trapir's go.
How is Robert doing?
Robert's fine. He hasn't been hurt yet.
Okay, I'm going to cast Absorb Elements. So this captures some of the incoming energy of attacks, lessening its effect on me and storing it for my next melee attack. I have resistance to whatever the triggering damage type is until the start of my next turn. But also, the first time I hit with the melee attack after it, it takes an extra 1d6 of the triggering type damage.
Ooh, very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you cast that, and that is your action. You can move. If you move away from his enclosed range, you'd have to take a disengage, or else he'd get an attack of opportunity on you. You can also. I don't know if you have any bonus actions. I don't think you do. Yeah, you might.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But yeah, I don't think you have a bonus action yet. What do you have? Oh, you do. You do have a bonus action. You, my friend, have Healing Word.
Oh, as a bonus action. Excellent.
Yeah, so you can flip that as a Healing Word.
That is definitely the thing I do on myself.
And so it's a 1d4. You don't have to roll to see if it's successful. It's a 1d4 plus your spellcasting modifier, which I think...
Fucking 1. God damn it.
I think your spellcasting modifier is... +4, so it's 5. So it gets you almost all the way back up.
Okay, cool.
So that's your bonus action.
I'm back at 9.
So you're back at 9 and everything.
Right, Jesus. All my damage and healing rolls are my 1s. 2 nat 1s already.
2 1s on damage and healing. So his buddy tries to get out of the thing again. This is really helping you out because it means that they don't have to square off 1v1. And he rolls a natural 4, which means he does not. He's like, I'm pretty useless during this entire encounter. I'm just not doing a lot. I feel like I haven't earned this marshal badge. Robert then goes.
Yeah, well, maybe the bribery shit should have made you feel that. Damn, dude.
Robert then goes. Robert senses exactly what you did. And he decides to do something. So the attack that you used, Josh, or the thing that you used, Absorb Elements, requires an elemental damage of some sort.
I am so fucking into it. I am riding Robert's wavelength.
Yeah, and so he goes, I'm gonna help you out. It's gonna seem weird, but you're gonna like it. And
fucking light me up, Robert.
He just, since you're cooperating, he just does the touch hands, but with fire for you. And he rolls another 2, so that's all you take. So it will damage you because it has to damage you to work. but you get 1d6 damage on it. And so he just looks for like a meaty part of you, and then just goes, "Oh, I'll just do like the front of the quad," and just, and it sizzles, and there's the smell of burning fur. It's not pleasant, but it's 2 damage. You're still up at 7, and everything. And he's like, "Not a problem." And then you know what? Because he is a druid, and he also has that, but he's a much more powerful druid than you. He's not looking to show you up, but he's going to do it when it counts. Because he is a druid, very similar to you. He is going to cast Healing Word at a 3rd level spell. So it's going to be 3d4 plus his modifier.
Nice. What damage did I take for that?
You took 2, but you're back up to full. So he burns you and then heals you instantly. And he's like, he burns you and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And then the fur just grows back. You're full to heal. You're back at 10. You're feeling spry. And now it's Trapir's turn.
Yeah. So I sort of take that charge, like that, the adrenaline from the burn, and I take a spin to come back around with the scimitar blade and hit that same guy.
All right.
Who's coming down right across his chest, kind of down across from his shoulder. I'm going to roll.
Yeah, you will have to roll for that.
Oh, 19.
19 plus whatever, it hits. It hits. It definitely hits.
Plus 3.
So
slashing with fire.
Slashing with fire. So you roll
and
your normal damage die plus a 1d6.
Lights up on fire as I'm spinning around, and by the time it comes around, the oxygen has just kind of gotten the flame so that the blade is red hot, and I just kind of right down his fucking chest.
So it hits. So roll your 1d8. Is it a d8 when you're in
1d8 plus 1d6 extra,
and then plus 1, I want to say. Yeah.
God damn it! The d8 is a 1 again.
What's the d6?
A 1, I shit you not. Nat 1.
You do 3 damage. It's real cool looking.
I'm taking a photo of this right now.
It's real cool looking. So this is not supposed to have a challenge rating of any kind of significant amount if you get into a fight, and especially if only one of them can actually attack you on any given round. Because I put you with a higher level druid on a purpose, so that if this happened, you'd just be like, "All right, we do the thing." So he's taken a total of what's he taking? He's taking a total of 6 damage at this point. So he's hurt in the way that you've been hurting him, but he's up. He's aggressive and everything, and you're just killing him with 1,000 cuts right there.
Toasty cuts.
1,000 paper cuts, toasty paper cuts. And so it sears and everything. Robert just nods. It's like, "See, we're very kind. We could have just kept cutting you and burning you separately, but my friend here has decided that you deserved a little bit more respect than that, and just did it all in one." And so it's a matching burn scar. You missed his chest. You got back up to his face. So now he has matching cut burn scars on his face and everything. The guy entangled on the ground is like, "I think you look
Joker origin story.
I think you look real cool, boss." But
why so serious?
Yeah, exactly. So that guy rolls for another check to get out of these vines. He finally does, but it's at the end of his turn, so he can't act yet. So he gets out of them finally. He gets out of those roots and everything. He's still on the ground though, not enough time. And then he's like, "Get your ass out of the fucking playground and stuff and get into this fight." And then the guy you've been attacking rolls to hit you, and he rolls a natural 20. So he is going to attack you. And you're at full health, which is good.
Yep.
He's going to attack you. You could have, had you rolled well enough, one-shotted him with that attack. It was a great idea. The dice are not on your favor if it's not a d20.
I sent you a shot of that. This fucking
I'm
snake.
a posted as the thumb. So he gets you down. he knocked. You're a level 1, and you only have 10 hit points. So you were doing your flourish. You were confident that it was going to happen. It did not happen the way you thought it was, and he took advantage of that. You thought it was going to be a chest blow, and you'd have more time to recover on the full follow through of your thing. And he just takes full advantage and just nails it through your ribs. You are down. So you go get knocked out. I can't remember if you've listened to enough D&D. So normally you would roll death saving throws at this point.
Yeah.
But because Robert goes before you, and because he is a druid, he just goes, "Oh, Haas, you made a mistake," and he just points at you, and just does like a finger guns. He just goes, "Bing." That's not. I think it might, or it's a word spell, but I like the idea of it having a little thing. So it's like pink, and a little bit of green glow just pops up for him. I'm gonna roll for see how much he heals you. He heals you back up to full instantly.
Holy shit!
Before your turn.
God, that was fucking weird, dude.
And that was his bonus action. So he's like, I wasn't. So he turns around.
I just like passed out and then like feel great again.
He turns around to the other gentleman that has been entangled and finally got out of it, and he just looks at that man. I gotta pull up his specific character sheet because I wasn't thinking he was going to do this, and he just thinks it's funny, and just does a he just goes, "Now, I know you want to get in the fight, son, but you should really just stay there. Just stay." And you hear this in your head ringing, but it's not targeted at you. He cast a hold person on the other guy that hasn't been able to do anything yet. And that guy's got to save, and he does not save because he does not have good wisdom, because his wisdom score is a -1. And so he gets up to finally be able to attack. He is ready to go, and then he just stands there, holding his blade in his hand, staring off into space, not doing anything. So that's the end of Robert's turn. Now it's your turn. So Trapper, that you see that other guy has been held. You know that there was something magical about it. I don't know if your character knows hold person yet, or knows what that is, but other druids would have had it. So
yeah.
So you'd have a good idea that it's like, oh, it's some sort of command spell or something like that.
Is the other guy still entangled?
No, that was the entangled guy. Now you're still dealing with the guy that just put 11 points of damage on you and knocked you down and everything. The guy you've done 6 damage to is still standing there.
All right. I'm gonna entangle him.
He's letting you zone defense, basically. You entangle him. Does entangle do any damage?
No, he is now restrained.
Okay, so
I raise my arms up and fucking tree roots grow up out of the ground and wrap around his knees and kind of buckle him a little. He can't move. He has to.
Okay, so he has to roll a strength check on it.
Yeah.
So he rolls. So he can't move. At the end of his turn, he gets to roll a strength check. He succeeds at his strength check. He chops himself out of it.
I get both of them, by the way.
What? There is no way for you to get both of them because of the way you guys are laid out without also getting Robert.
Okay, so I just get the dude.
And Robert's got that guy on hold.
He's got the stay.
But he had to use his whole turn for that. Robert's guy failed on his wisdom save, so it's back around to Robert, and he looks over at you and he's like, "You want to deal with him? He ain't gonna do any lasting damage to you, kid. So if you want to deal with him, I can get into this. I don't want to step on your prey, if you will."
Hey, I got no toes to step on, Robert. We're good.
All right. So Robert then goes, "All right," and just goes in on this guy. He is going to cast. Is it this one? Or is it this one? Which one do I want to cast? He's got spells. He's not even doing his big stuff. That's a
Yeah, I don't really
concentration
have anything
thing.
that does any damage other than the absorb elements, which is like a next turn one.
Yeah, you're level 1. That's normal. Level 3 is when people start getting real good, start being able to do a lot of things. Level 2 just is nice because you can because a normal attack that crits won't probably down you in a level 2 situation.
Yeah.
So he does something, and ooh, no, he's not gonna do either of those. I can't have him lose his concentration on the other guys. Oh, there we go. This will be fine. God damn it, druids and their endless concentration spells. You know what? Fuck it. He's just gonna stab him. So he pulls out a knife and everything. He's like, I'm not gonna waste too much energy on you. Pulls out a nice long dagger, and everything. And he uses his free action and his bonus action, because he didn't have to heal this time, to take a little pouch out of somewhere deep in his clothing, and then pour a little like goop on the edge of the dagger, and then he's gonna stab him. And he is definitely gonna hit, and so he is going to hit with that dagger. That dagger is only a 1d4 plus 2 normally. Okay, so that's 6.
I'm putting that on my shopping list when we get back to town.
Yeah. It's the kind of thing that as a GM, it's poison basically, but it's a specific kind that allows you to enhance your weapon for one attack, because it's just on there. So if it hits, it hits. If it misses, it sloughs off the blade. It doesn't last for another turn. But he does hit him for 7. This guy drops down to a knee. He starts throwing up almost immediately. Almost immediately at the poison damage. I actually did roll a 1 for the dagger damage, but he has a +3 to it, and then I rolled like a 4 for the poison damage D6. And so he goes down to a knee. He's thrown up. He looks like he's on death's door. His buddy tries to wisdom save. Oh no! Now it's your turn, Trapper. So he has 1 hit point. He is down there. You can tell he's barely able to breathe in between throwing up.
I take the sheave, the top of my my walking stick that took out part that was housing the scimitar blade, and I hold it up to my mouth, and I launch a dart at the guy that I entangled.
Okay, you launch a dart at the guy that you entangled.
Yeah, right at his throat.
Right at his throat. Okay,
so
roll a hit
I saw
on
that you gave me darts.
I did.
Presumably they're like tranquilizer tipped with something. I don't know.
Do you want it to be lethal or non-lethal damage? You get to pick.
I would be going lethal.
Okay.
In my like one shot that I keep stored.
Let's just say they're a normal poison dart. If you hit with them, I'm just gonna let you roll 1d6 poison damage instead of anything else. But yeah, I'll let you do that. That's cool. I like that.
Sweet. 16.
16 plus your dex, which is a +2, so that's 18. It hit it 16. But when you do anything,
6. Hey.
So you do 6. So you dart him
at 6,
and he starts throwing up, and he's like, "It's getting in my nose!" And then he just suffocates on his own vomit. So he suffocates on his own vomit.
Holy shit, that got dark.
Yeah, well, it's D&D, right? All deaths must be the worst. And so his buddy is still stuck there. His buddy's going to I'll let you. Do you want to say anything to his buddy before he rolls a try to get out a hold person?
He'd be like, "Hey, before you die, what the fuck's going on with those Kenku out there? What's really happening? Do something right for once." Can I roll like an intimidation?
You can roll an intimidation, but his insight was only a 5. He's a normal marshal. He's just a low on the totem pole guy, so he doesn't know much.
Oh man! All right, I just move all my dice out of the way.
You didn't need to roll intimidation because I decided that that you killing his partner was automatically going to intimidate him. He's been able to do nothing this entire time. And so he just starts cowering. He's just like, well, I don't want to die. I just came. We were told to apprehend you. He was, I guess, the boss, but I don't want any trouble with anything, and starts pleading for his life. And Robert just kind of looks at you. He failed his wisdom save too, so he's still stuck in hold person. He just can't move. I
just roll my eyes at Robert.
Yeah, and Robert goes, all right, well, do we get rid of them? What do you want to do? They were after you, so, and you were kind enough not to throw me under the wagon.
Yeah, I'm like, man, fuck this guy. These dudes are just trying to kill me at this point. I don't know what's going on.
All right, so Robert is going to roll to attack him with the dagger. No poison this time, but he does hit. And so he's like,
yeah, hold on. I don't know if that's true to character for Trapir.
Yeah, I
don't know if he would do that. Chaotic good.
Would he give him a chance to survive if he could negotiate with him?
I mean, what kind of negotiation is this guy offering? He came looking for trouble. That's the only thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. And so roll an insight check.
All right, yeah, that's what I should do. 8 plus 4.
So 12. Okay.
No, plus 6.
Plus 6. Oh yeah, you have a 14. Okay, so yeah, definitely solid enough insight for this. You can put together that his boss, the man you just killed, immediately offered you a bribe, or offered to take a bribe from you to turn in the wrong person. And you also have already put together that this is not the most brightest bulb in the box of turnip bulbs, because electricity doesn't exist the same way here. So the brightest candle on the wick. I don't know how to.
The rosiest bulb in the bushel.
Not the rosiest bulb in the bushel. So you could probably talk him down. You have some confidence that you might be able to do this without killing this guy who is not by his own devices, but has yet to lay a finger on any of you in any kind of damaging way. He's got full. He wanted
was
to.
The guy like offering the bribe, right?
Nope. He's the dumb one. He's the less intelligent one. He is literally. He wanted to get the chicken.
In the
he's complicit. he's complicit. He's definitely. You definitely don't think he's a good man, but he did go for the chicken when it was offered, and all he did was put Robert in an armhole. That's it.
Yeah. So I might say. I mean, we do still have some chicken. And now this asshole's gone. This asshole's not going to bother us no more.
Roll a persuasion check with advantage.
Maybe as I say that, I kind of wave my hand and make that guy's corpse invisible.
He just disappears on the ground.
Oh, no. It's just invisible.
So as far as he can see, his buddy can see, he's like, oh, goodness. Yeah. Okay, roll persuasion with advantage. You only have a +1, but...
Oh, with advantage. 15 and 13. +1. 16 and 14.
Okay, so 16 definitely beats my 12. So he's like, yeah, that sounds real good. If you would release me, and then he sees the body just disappear from his gaze, and he's like, oh God! Whatever you want. I'd be real grateful for some chicken at this point. And everything. And Robert just dismisses the concentration. Well, and then goes and hands him a small little tin plate of chicken, and everything, of the hen of indescribable bird, and of the transmogrifying bird meat.
Indiscriminate fowl.
Yeah. He takes a bite of it. He's like, this tastes more like turkey, but it's delicious, because it is the best thing he's ever had. And he's like, all right, so.
Yeah, I think it's some kind of wild grouse or some shit.
Yeah. So he rolls a check, a wisdom check, which is unfortunate for him, but hopefully I roll high. I did not. He rolled high. So he's like, what if I say that some evil gnomes pretended to be a giant wolf and you protected us from them, and in protecting us you gobbled them up so there's no bodies to take in, but the situation is handled.
I mean, are you going to say it like that? Or...
You're pretty confident he is going to say it like that. You might want to feed him a different story.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not that one specifically. These are good ideas. Let's go ahead and keep brainstorming. Robert, what you got? I need a second. Hold on.
Robert's like,
I'll
well,
get something.
Hold on. I'm gonna roll for Robert. Robert also rolled really poorly. Hey, evil gnomes. That sounds convincing to me. I mean, I do remember I was dating this young woman way back, and we were getting real hot and heavy, but she was taking it slow. So it was like that intellectual passion. So we were dancing back and forth in our romantic trysts of verbalization.
This is my fault.
And
I'm sorry.
And then one day she finally invited me back into her boudoir, and then she opened up her dress, and it was just 6 evil gnomes stacked on top of each other, and I'd been fooled by them. And it was like if they'd come to me, been like 6 evil gnomes, but were down to fuck, I would have fucked those gnomes. But
yeah,
like
thank
the
you,
dishonesty.
thank you, Robert. I appreciate your help. This was very good.
Not everyone in Wather's Wealth is firing on all cylinders all the time. So he looks to you. You can just give him help if you can't come up with anything on the top, so I can roll with advantage.
All right, I got it.
Okay.
So you're just going to say it was one of them creatures from the sideshow at the carnival. They had some kind of enchanted item that made them look like some big hairy beastie boy. And it's something with the bearded lady or something.
Yeah.
It makes them grow hair. It was one of them great cats, but they already skipped town. They're gone. So, yeah.
Yep. And so he does that, and oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. And so he's like, I'm gonna roll for this, but it's gonna be an extremely low DC, and he hits it, and he's like, yeah, that sounds good, and he repeats it back to you because I actually rolled decently again. He got a 12 at least in wisdom, and he repeats it back to you as you said it, and he adds a little bit of flourish and a little bit of hair. He only survived because his buddy defended him and everything, but then his buddy got the killing blow on it, so that's what that it was. He's like, they'll like that because marshals like to think that marshals always die in heroic ways, defending folk and stuff. Not that this guy would have ever, not one. Even I can see that he would have never done that.
Yeah, they're still into that death cult shit, though. They all want to be martyrs and all that.
Yeah. And so he's like, sure.
DM question.
Yeah.
With my alchemist supplies and herbalism kit, is there a presumption that I have any sort of buffs, like any kind of potions I could give this guy a +1 to charisma or intelligence for when he tells this story?
So if it's necessary for battle and something in a significant part, no. You'd have to acquire those as a level 1 character. But for flavor, for flavor, hundo % every time, I will always be like, yeah.
I'll be like, hey, but let me give you a little something. This will get a little this will make the story go over a little bit smoother, all right? And I put a little drop of I take some, you know what? I snap off some little twigs of some fresh herbs I have in a vial and a little bit of a mineral, and give him a +1 to charisma, +1 to intelligence.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. Actually, for this, and this is what will happen with your character in the future at lower levels before you have high enough levels to get to really master this stuff, or if you kind of do it in the moment as a moment of risk.
Is this gonna be like a wild magic thing?
I'm going to make it kind of like a wild magic thing. In this case, you will not fail unless you roll a 1. But the higher you roll, the more effective this will be. But in the future, and this is for people watching this and wondering what my plans are, and for you, in the future, the way this is going to work is you're going to have to concoct these, and I'll let you concoct 1 on a long rest and none, or run on a long rest, and then you'll get more powerful and you'll be able to concoct them on short rests and other times that you just choose to be like, I do this during the downtime kind of thing. But when it's earlier, because I like the idea of giving these things out earlier, it's going to be wildly inaccurate, and then whatever you hand them increases it by 1 until you fail miserably, sort of like how wild magic works, but instead of it being a magic thing, it does something, kind of counterproductive. And I'll build up a table so that you can see it, but it'll be real fun. Just because I like the idea that it's like you're a studious person, but like you're not that well trained in it, and you've gotten a lot of like misinformation in a lot of directions, so it's never been 100% clear what does and doesn't work all the time.
Yeah, I like it. I'm doing herbalism, like herbs are having a real effect. I'm not being that precise with dosage.
Yeah, though. You're cooking like my Italian mother in the kitchen. No measurements, all gut.
Yeah, you can't measure the milligrams of active ingredient with whole plant.
You're not a wizard.
I'm a druid.
You're a druid. So you give it to him. So roll your d20.
8. What am I adding to it?
So the
plus, it's just not a 1.
Yeah, it's not a 1. So it's the +1/+1. What I was gonna do is if you got a 10 or higher, it was gonna be a +2/+2. If you got a 15 or higher, it was gonna be a +3/+3. And if you'd happen to get a 20, it was gonna be like a +5/+5, and he was gonna be like a different
flowers
person.
for Algernon, and he turns on.
Yeah. So I was thinking more like John Travolta's excellent movie Phenomenon.
It's a terrible book.
Nonetheless, so he takes it and he even looks a little bit cleaner, honestly. He looks a bit more handsome with it. He takes it and he takes it gladly because the chicken was delicious. The constantly, the never solid hen bird fowl.
The wall chicken, presumably.
The wall chicken was so good. And he takes it and he's like, yeah, and he runs off. And in an order of expediency, you and Robert just like look at him go off and everything, and you're pretty confident he's going to do exactly what you told him.
Yeah.
And Robert's like, well, it's getting there. It's you were visiting for a long time. So it's dusk. It's dusk into night. And everything. And he's like, well, it's getting about time for me and the girls to head back to my cabin and everything. And I'm sure you got folk to get to.
Definitely, Robert. Listen, I want to say I wasn't trying to bring all this heat into your spot out here, man.
I don't blame anyone for how a marshal behaves. That is just not. They could have had a conversation with you. They could have talked about the situation where he was attacking you first. It could have been like a fine or something. It wasn't worth anything like that. Plus, Liz Clanthian's an asshole. And everything. And so he goes, hey, I'm gonna do you one more favor. You said you're in from out of town. You rolling with anybody?
I got a little bit of a crew going on. New friends though. They seem like some pretty solid folk though.
You wanna know where they at right now?
I do.
And so he casts Scrying at level 5. You're gonna meet Robert later. He's not really for this. He's one of the NPCs I have banked, but I like the idea of bringing him out. Once you were like, he's
the Sam to my Scott Bakula.
Yeah, he is. He is the Sam to your Scott Bakula. He pulls out this weird Lego device and starts just beating on it.
Excellent.
And it's making whir noises and shit. No.
He opens up a hatch in the side of a tree and steps through it.
I mean, he can do that, but
that shit's dope.
He rolls.
If he
on
leaves
it.
like that, I'm gonna flip.
He scries. And they don't. It's not a attack scry. I'm just gonna modify it as a thing that he gets to do and everything. And he's like, oh, it's not even that far. It's not even gonna be that much of a walk in the dark. They're over at that university over there. Well, a couple of them are there, and a couple of them are walking around, but they look like they're headed in that general direction. So,
yeah, our friend Patience works there.
Yeah, Patience Pratt.
Hell yeah, you know Patience?
Okay, so here's what I gotta tell you to do with Patience. Patience has recently, over the last year or two, discovered that much like many a tiefling, she has powers beyond that of a normal educator or administrator. Get patience to do things like heat you up a cup of tea with her magic if you can, or like do little things with her magic. She's not going to do anything big. She's more bookish, but here's some
cozy tricks though.
Here's the deal. You get her to do it enough times and then she's going to do something wrong and then it's going to be hilarious.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
for real?
All right. I watched we were in the middle of the day. It was last year's heat season. She was teaching a class outdoors, showing them some of those artifacts she likes to collect and everything, talking about the people that were here before the people that were here before. And
is real interesting.
And she just started pouring rain on a cloud that was literally exactly the size, but it was like pink rain, so everybody came out looking all magenta-y in color, skin tone. No one could wash it off for like a week. It was absolutely hilarious. I was day drinking, so it was funnier because of the thing. But anyway, I'm gonna head out, and he literally goes, "Come on, girls," and they get up, and then he looks over at his like little like thing. The grill goes completely out and completely cold. The stumps fade out of existence, and he reaches to the tree. He doesn't like a door doesn't appear so much as a handle appears when he reaches for it. He reaches to the tree, opens it up, and walks through a dark black portal. And in the tree, it's just nothingness. It's not like evil or anything. It's just blackness and everything. And they disappear in, and then the door closes behind him on the way out into the tree. Tree's back to normal. No evidence.
Damn, Robert, that was fucking dope.
No one was ever cool. You can hear on the wind, I know.
I know you know.
And so they are back at the university, which I assume you head toward.
Well, first, as soon as Robert leaves...
Oh, yeah, there's still that invisible body back there.
Yeah, I make the body visible. I kind of sigh. I search the body. I process all the clothing. I turn it into, like, materials real quick.
Yeah. He doesn't have anything of that much value on him. He has a few silver on him, but nothing of note.
Any equipment?
No. Nothing he has is better than anything you have.
Yeah, okay. Just a grave.
I'll do some components for you, some added little things into there.
You know what? Can I use entangle to have the roots just kind of pull him down into the ground?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. I do that.
And so the he goes into the earth for a natural burial.
Robert leaves. I sigh like. Just grab a couple silver and just cast entangled, like sink him down into the earth.
Him down into
horizontal
the earth.
Homer gif.
He disappears completely into the earth. No trace that he was ever there. And And
I give a good howl.
Yep.
And then I head out.
And then you head out. All right. So I'm going to describe the scene that you walk into, and then we'll be done. As you're going to the university, it's nighttime now. It took you a little bit longer because you dallied. There were some interesting plants and things that you hadn't seen that were growing around here. Nothing magical. Nothing like what he had defined that Skeeter had made. But just some things you hadn't seen, some stuff that you pick up along the way. They might be useful later, they might not. Mostly floral growths and a little bit of fungi, and everything, which is impressive because it's not damp enough for fungi in Water's Wealth. But that might be Robert's doing. You realize that around the fungi it's damp. Like the fungi is cool to the touch on the ground and against.
Can I collect any of them?
Yeah, you collect it all. Then you head on down to the university. After asking a couple students, the university is kind of an old brick university, if you've ever seen it, Western Washington or some of the buildings in the U District. So it's brick. It's a little dusty because, desert. But it's relatively nice. It's a few different buildings. There's a quad and stuff like that. And the university students don't look at you too weird. They just acknowledge you like a normal person walking by someone, and everything. And one of them sort of points you out to where they knew patients had gone back to the library. Which is kind of toward the back of the main building. In the library, as you get there, right as you're coming up the stairs down the hallway that leads to the door of the library, about 60 feet of hallways in front of you. And you see a whole group at the door as they burst open the door. This is not your friends. They burst open the door to the library. And
Coming
everything. Going in. The doors were closed, and they exploded them into the library, and they start running into the library. And so that is where we leave Trapir. You can tell me what you're going to do. Yes, to be continued. So that is where Trapir ends up